Imagine a young girl torn from her homeland, brought into the dark halls of a foreign empire. On one side, captivity; on the other, palace walls promising power and authority. Her name was Turhan. She was no ordinary concubine. She would grow to become one of the most cunning and powerful women in Ottoman history. Between the golden columns of the palace, secret plans were being made. Every step carried betrayal. Every corner hid assassination plots. Survival here required more than beauty. It demanded intelligence, iron will, and patience. Turhan Sultan possessed all of these. One day she would outshine Qasem Sultan's shadow and become the true ruler behind the Ottoman throne. Now let's take a look at 10 fascinating facts about her. Fact 1. Birthplace and family, 1627. In a quiet Slavic village on the banks of the Dnieper River, a simple farmer's daughter was born. She was neither a princess nor of noble blood, just the child of a peasant who tended the land. Her name is believed to have been Nadia or Nastia, but fate had a different story written for her, one that would carry her from the open fields to the darkest corridors of the Ottoman palace. Her childhood was cut short. During a sudden raid by the Crimean Tatars, the girl was captured and torn from her family, tears streaming down her face. From that day on, she was no longer just a simple village girl. She was brought to the palace. Upon her arrival, she was given a new name, Turhan. This was the tradition of the palace. Enslaved girls or concubines were given Ottoman-style names, and thus began the journey of the girl who would one day become Turhan Sultan. Fact 2. Palace School Istanbul, a city of golden thrones, shadowy corridors, and endless intrigue. The fate of the captured girl had already changed forever. When she stepped through the iron gates of the Ottoman palace, she could not have known that this dark and glittering world would one day etch her name into history. The palace school was not merely a place of education, it was a testing ground. Hundreds of girls eyed each other, engaging in silent competition. Beauty, manners, intelligence, and skill. Everything was scrutinized. The weakest faded into the shadows, while the strongest slowly rose to the top. Turhan stood out with her beauty. Long black hair, large eyes, and delicate features. But it was not only her appearance that set her apart. She learned diligently, mastered languages, and quickly grasped the palace customs. She excelled in music, poetry, and etiquette. But most importantly, she had the patience to endure. The teachers at the palace soon realized this girl's heart did not belong to an ordinary concubine. Within her lay the will of a future powerful mother of a ruler. With her quiet but sharp gaze, she seemed to challenge her own destiny. Each new day pulled Turhan further away from being just a captive girl, guiding her toward becoming one of the most powerful women of the Ottoman palace. And yet, no one knew that this seemingly delicate girl would one day enter a life-and-death struggle with Qasem Sultan. Fact 3. Discovery and mentorship by Qasem Sultan. Qasem Sultan was not just a Valide Sultan. She was the hidden ruler of the Ottoman throne, a woman hardened by years of palace intrigue who knew every stone and every breath of the palace. No one could escape her gaze. One day among the new concubines, she noticed a girl with black hair, large eyes, calm, yet carrying a strange, quiet determination. This girl is different, Qasem thought. She possessed beauty, but more importantly, there was a strength in her patience, intelligence, and obedience. From that day on, Qasem decided to keep her close, watching her carefully and personally mentoring her. Turhan's speech blossomed, her manners refined, and the calm surrounding her hid the power within. Qasem taught her lessons, revealing the hidden rules of palace politics, whom to smile at, whose words to heed, and how to anticipate a blow before it came. The palace was not just a place to survive, it was a ground of poisons, plots, and betrayals. Some might say Qasem was raising Turhan to be a loyal ally, but fate had a different plan. This girl would one day become her greatest rival. Fact 4. Turhan Sultan becomes Haseki Sultan. When Turhan was brought to the palace, she was just a young concubine, yet her beauty, intelligence, and patient character quickly drew attention. Sultan Ibrahim, unaware of the hidden games of the palace, developed a special interest in her. Thus, according to Ottoman traditions, Turhan became the Haseki Sultan, the Sultan's official and favored consort. This title gave her power and influence within the palace, but at the same time placed her at the very center of dangerous intrigues. Every step she took required caution and vigilance, for betrayal lurked in every corner of the court. But Turhan was not only noticed for her beauty. Her sharp mind and strategic thinking soon set her apart. As Haseki, she gave birth to only one child, Prince Mehmed, who would become Sultan Mehmed IV. This child further strengthened her position and marked the very first step toward her future as a powerful Valide Sultan. Fact 5. Rivalry with Qasem Sultan. In the Ottoman palace, the sun shone on two women. One, Qasem Sultan, the longtime shadow ruler feared by all. The other, young Turhan, harboring an iron will beneath her delicate exterior. When fourth Mehmed ascended the throne, he was only 7 years old. In the Ottoman world, this meant that real power rested in the hands of the Valide Sultans. Qasem had wielded this power for years, shaping the decisions of the Sultan, the Grand Vizier, and even the army. But now the throne's young ruler was Turhan's son, marking the start of a new struggle for influence within the palace. At first, Qasem tried to place Turhan under her wing, hoping to guide her and bend her to her will. But Turhan was not as simple as Qasem imagined. She gathered strength in silence, carefully observing every move Qasem made. Soon their relationship turned into a hidden rivalry. Qasem's old authority over the palace clashed with Turhan's new, youthful, and ambitious position. Each knew that in this palace, only one could survive. The entire palace held its breath. The battle between the two powerful women had begun. Fact 6. The powerful Valide Sultan. The Sultanate of Women, Turhan Sultan, is remembered as one of the most powerful and influential Valide Sultans in Ottoman history. Historians note that the Sultanate of Women began with Turhan and continued throughout her life. After her death, this era ended. The influence of women in the palace diminished, and a new phase in Ottoman politics began. Turhan Sultan left a lasting mark on both the lives of women and the destiny of the state, etching her power, intelligence, and strategic skills into history. She was not only a mother, but also a strategist, diplomat, and master of palace intrigues. Through her wisdom, patience, and political acumen, she secured her position in the palace, protected her son's safety, and influenced the fate of the empire. Fact 7. The death of Qasem Sultan, 1651. The golden columns and shadowy corridors of the palace were once again filled with secrets. Life in the palace was measured only by the struggle for the throne. Qasem Sultan had long been the true ruler behind the Ottoman throne. As Valide Sultan, she shaped every move and decision of the Sultan, chose the Grand Viziers, and commanded palace politics. Mehmed was only 11 years old and could not yet wield full power. Ambitious aides, palace officials, and other Valide Sultans sought to exploit the situation for their own gain. Turhan realized that in order to remain in the palace and secure her son's rule, Qasem Sultan had to be removed. Palace intrigues unfolded over months, even years, through secret plans. Turhan gathered her allies and strengthened her supporters, while Qasem still believed Turhan would accept her only as a subordinate. Finally, one night in 1651, the plan was executed. Qasem Sultan was summoned to her quarters, and historical accounts record that she was strangled by her own followers. The details suggest that she was betrayed by palace members she had trusted at the very moment she least expected. Turhan's goal was not merely to seize power. She also aimed to protect her son, for Qasem Sultan could have used fourth Mehmed for her own purposes. Turhan's plan was harsh but strategic. Eliminate the most powerful woman in the palace and solidify her own position in palace politics. That night marked a turning point in palace history. With Qasem Sultan's death, Turhan Sultan assumed a dark and powerful role in the Ottoman court. She was no longer just the mother of the fourth Mehmed. She had become the true master behind the throne and the ruler of the palace. Fact 8. Initiation of the Köprülü era and naval defense. While fourth Mehmed was still in his childhood, the Ottoman state faced internal chaos and external threats. Discipline in the army weakened, bureaucracy faltered, and the navy grew weak. The future of the empire was at risk. Turhan Sultan understood that only with an experienced and strong Grand Vizier could this crisis be overcome. Therefore, she appointed Köprülü Mehmed Pasha, one of the most influential and capable figures in the palace, granting him extensive powers. Köprülü Pasha swiftly implemented reforms in the army and bureaucracy, strengthening the central administration. At the same time, Turhan paid special attention to strengthening the Ottoman navy. She initiated naval defense projects, invested in shipbuilding, and ensured proper training for the crews. These measures reinforced the Ottoman Empire's power, both on land and at sea. Historians note that Turhan Sultan's strategic actions marked the beginning of the Köprülü era in Ottoman history. This period was remembered for relative stability, a strong central administration, and the restoration of military power. Turhan Sultan was not just a mother. She acted as a strategist and protector of the state, skillfully balancing power between the palace and society. Fact 9. Infrastructure and charitable projects. Turhan Sultan was not only a powerful figure in palace politics, she also undertook significant works for the welfare of the people. Her name remains in Ottoman history for both political and social projects. Her most famous project was the Yeni Mosque in Eminönü, Istanbul. This magnificent mosque had been left unfinished for years. Turhan Sultan continued and completed the construction, opening it for public use. Around the mosque, markets, fountains, and social complexes were built, creating a space that served both religious and social needs. She also paid attention to irrigation systems, bridges, and the repair of roads. Turhan's projects not only beautified the city, but also facilitated trade and daily life. These works demonstrated that Turhan Sultan was not only strong in intrigue, but also a leader who cared for her people. Her policies and projects showed that female sultans could wield influence not only within the palace but also across society. Fact 10. Death and legacy. 1683. Istanbul once again bore witness to history. Turhan Sultan, who had preserved her power, strategy, and influence in the shadowy corridors of the Ottoman palace for many years, had grown old. Yet her legacy was still felt in every corner of the palace in the empire. Turhan Sultan was known not only as Valide Sultan, but also as a strategist of the state and a leader concerned with the welfare of her people. She passed away in 1683 and was buried near the Eyüp Sultan tomb. Her death marked the end of an era in the palace, but her legacy, her strength, intelligence, and strategic thinking became an example for future generations. Historians note that Turhan Sultan was one of the most influential female sultans in Ottoman history. She survived a world full of intrigues, secured the throne for her son, safeguarded the fate of the empire, and undertook invaluable works for the welfare of the people. She left her mark not only in palace politics, but also in the welfare of the people. The Yeni Mosque and charitable works reflect her compassion, while the Köprülü era showcases her strategic mind and statecraft. Turhan Sultan's life teaches us a lesson. True power lies not only on the throne, but in intelligence, patience, and strategic thinking. Her legacy still lives on in palace history, the streets of Istanbul, and in the memories of the people. Turhan Sultan's story shows that women do not merely witness history, they can change it. If you want to explore more fascinating historical stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell. For more about the Ottoman Empire and other remarkable tales, check out our other videos. Enjoy watching.